a bit more going on behind the scenes. So what more can you tell us about what your sources are probably telling you about what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it was an odd comment that Ruben made after the Manchester derby, that he kind of said there are other things going on that you don't know anything about, and he was just hinting at kind of things that he's had to deal with, that he's being judged right now by performances on the pitch and results, but what he will tell you is that that's only half the story, in that he's had to come into a very, very difficult situation when he took over from Erik ten Hag in November. He's had to deal with an awful lot over the summer, including having to kind of change or at least try to change the culture in the dressing room, sort of away from the pitch. The likes of Marcus Rashford have had to leave. Alejandro Garnacho has had to leave. So there's all these things that he's had to deal with that has affected his ability to do his job. And he's simply saying that he's being judged right now on performances and results, which is right, because he's manager of Man United. But there are other things, or have been other things, that have been going on that he's tried to work through. He's hopeful that he is taking the first sort of small steps forward, and he has seen signs of progress on the pitch. He understands, though, that those signs haven't been fantastic, that it has been slow progress, and ultimately he said there that he's going to get judged by results, and they're not there right now, and he needs to start winning matches, particularly against Chelsea at Old Trafford on Saturday.
Frank, when Ruben Amarim was talking there, you were making some interesting faces at his comments. What stood out to you?
Well, I think it was surreal what I heard. I mean, first, I love the question from the journalist saying, yeah, you like the support, but do you really know that you have to win matches? That was surreal. First, they started like that. So I loved it. And then the answer is, yes, I know. Of course, I know. It's what I'm working hard with the team. But you know what? We are good. We are good in the middle of the park. We're not good at front, and we're not good at the back. So you're not good where you have to be good. And that's the thing. Yeah, it's good to prepare. It's good to be okay in the middle of the park. But if you can finish action, or you cannot stop actions in the other side of the field, you're in trouble. So that was surreal for me. And I mean, that guy makes me laugh. I mean, there's going to be very big pressure on the two coaches because Amarim has to win. That's for sure. I think otherwise he's going to go through many troubles. But Maresca as well. I mean, after the draw in the Premier League last week and the loss against Bayern Munich, Maresca needs to have a result as well. Maybe a draw would be enough. I think he's not in danger. But the pressure can come up as well because he needs something out of that game. Manchester United is not at their best. So Chelsea can have a chance to win something, and they will have to work hard to make sure that they get the 3 points.
Gentlemen, like I said, Ruben Amarim still able to have a bit of a jovial spirit in this pre-match presser, even though the pressure is on him. People reminding him, look, you have to win games. We know that he's now had this meeting with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, even though he said it was an already planned meeting and it was normal chat as always. Do you feel like this Chelsea game is a make or break one for him?
Well, a 4-0 defeat at home, I would say would have to break him. I mean, the two things from what he was talking about, unless Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to sack him, then the only thing Ratcliffe is going to say is that we're backing him. Mm-hmm. Because he has to. And I think it's interesting that Amarim, although he says we're improving, he never tells you where they're improving. And there's a reason why he doesn't tell you where they're improving. It's because they haven't improved anywhere. Not up the front, not up the back, and not in the middle of the park. So it's all just gobbledygook. You've got to sit in a press conference, you've got to speak, and so you may as well try your best to make it as positive as you can. But the truth is, they're certainly not any better. It's possible they're worse. And, well, we're not buying it. I'm certainly not buying it.
For me, I think what Amarim says there, there's so much that you want to agree with, but then once you start looking a little bit closer, you begin to question. And now let's start with on the park. I don't understand the comment where we're really good except for in the two boxes. Yeah. That's where the game is decided. Aside from which, we've been very critical of Manchester United's midfield. So are you telling me that Ugarte and Menu and Casemiro is where you've been great this season? I just don't understand. I don't understand what he's getting at with that comment. On the other, I've read reports that saying that he and Sir Jim Radcliffe have these regularly scheduled meetings with all the other hierarchy at the club, and this was just another one of those, but kind of given how the club have started, it takes on a different feel to it, which is all well and good, and credit if that's how it is. The other thing that I take significant exception, that is very true until you really... He's only lost to Arsenal and Manchester United. Now, that's very true, but...
What about Grimsby?
Well, hold on. They've only lost to them in the league. That is very true. But to Steve's point, you've lost to Grimsby in the league. You drew with Fulham. You've drawn with Fulham in the league. Your one league win came courtesy of a 97th minute penalty against Burnley. So while you could sit back and say, we've only lost to Manchester City and Arsenal, and that looks good on the surface, when you look at Manchester United's results, as bad a start as it's been, the worst since 92-93, it could quite easily be worse.
Frank, let me come to you because you speak so well about player welfare. You spoke so passionately about Nico Jackson and his transfer from Chelsea to Bayern Munich. So what do you make about this situation for Disasi and Sterling, and how Enzo Maresca has spoken about it?
Yeah, first, he's right in a way that every club is not, especially Chelsea, in that situation. And I've known that when I was playing for Marseille, when I saw like 4 or 5 players being in what we used to call the cupboard. You know, so you are there and you are stuck there and you don't even train with the first team. That's abnormal. That's unfair, because for Disasi, for example, and Sterling, they signed a contract. So the club at the time wanted them, and now they rejected them where they're still under the contract. It shouldn't be allowed to work that way. It shouldn't be allowed to have for some clubs to have so many players that they have to reject players that they've decided to sign first. So I cannot agree with what Maresca said. And again, it's not only about Chelsea. It's about all the clubs in the world who have too many players and not capable of getting rid of the others that they don't want anymore and leave them outside. Because that's not... Yeah, we are talking about human being, about mental health and wealth, and also the fact that you have a dignity. I mean, we are talking about international players. Raheem Sterling, Alex Disasi, they are international players. So you don't want them, you make sure that you find them a club, or you are forced to allow them to train with the first team. That should be your punishment as a club, because you don't want those players. But you decided to sign them first. They didn't come like randomly. So it's unfair for the players, and I'm gonna be defending the players for my entire life and until my last breath, because really that's unfair.
Frank for PFA president, but Shaka, you're also someone that does relate to this situation too. Do you have any sympathy for the players as well in this situation, or do you see what Maresca's saying?
Well, both in all honesty. But to Frank's point, how do you find a place for a first team player who's not in your plans? If nobody's in Maresca's plans, if those players aren't in Maresca's plans, not just how, but why do you include them in those first team training sessions, unless it's just as a warm body to run around and be an opponent. But you're not going to involve them in your set pieces, defending or attacking, because you're not going to have them available to you on the match day. You're not going to involve them in anything that you are doing in terms of preparing for games if you aren't going to use them for games. So, and then the other thing too is kind of with the growth of the agent in the game, it's less about the club finding places for those players who are surplus requirements. It's about the agents doing their jobs now and getting those players out. But the challenge with these 2 players in particular, Raheem Sterling's on such a wage that people aren't going to take a chance on him. You saw how things worked or not, as the case may be with the loan spell at Arsenal last season. And for Disasi, he's got 4 years to run on a 6-year contract. And again, this was our concern a few years back when Chelsea were signing players to these ridiculously long contracts. While I guess for accounting purposes it may make sense, you find yourself in a position like this with a player who's got 4 years to run, and so you are obligated to pay him for those 4 years. So now legally, probably what's best for Chelsea to do is go to those two players, say, listen, we'll pay you up. You know, whatever, come to some kind of agreement to terminate their contract. And that way they can go on a free. But other than doing that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the solution is to this.
Stevie?
I actually find Maresca's comments garbage. I mean, why? How dare you bring your dad? Because your dad's
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Just because your dad's a fisherman, gets up at 2 and works till 10, what's that got to do with the price of bread?
He's saying
absolutely nothing.
That's a true struggle.
Absolutely. Guys, shut up. I mean, what a lot of nonsense. And by the way, the fact that Maresca turns around and says, I was in a similar situation, that's the very reason you don't do that to those players, because you know how bad it makes them feel.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want them, if you're not having them in the squad and you want to move them on, that's fine. But you don't have to treat them like 5 and 6-year-olds. Get them training with the U23s when they normally train. And that way you're being professional. And then you're treating them professionally. I mean, they haven't done anything other than the fact that you don't want them. They've not done anything. It's not their fault that you don't want them. It's not their fault that they're on good money, particularly Sterling. So don't treat them like a bit of garbage, because that's what they're doing, making them come in at 8 o'clock at night. That's ridiculous. And honestly, the biggest thing that annoys me the most is the fact that Maresca said it happened to him. That if you're any sort of human being, that should tell you, I'm going to make sure that never happens to any of my players ever again. But guess what? He didn't.
Ooh, I've not seen Stevie that fired up since he couldn't
Sure
find
not.
out how to
Honestly.
log on to his laptop
Honestly.
today. Rob Dawson, let me come to you for this one as well, because when you look at it now and when you have two players like this in your books and you're trying to get them off of your books, you try to put them in the shop window at least before January. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon for any of these players, especially Raheem Sterling at Chelsea. So is there a market for them? What would their options be looking like come January?
Yeah, well, there was talk of possibly Raheem Sterling moving to another London club on deadline day, possibly Fulham or Brentford. I think he wants to stay in London to be close to his family, and obviously that didn't materialise. The problem is when you get into sort of the January window, that those two lads just won't be anywhere near match fit. You know, what club in January is going to take a punt on two players who haven't been, not only have they not been playing matches at an intense level, they've not even been training properly. I appreciate that Chelsea are sort of saying we're laying on the conditions for them to train properly, but it's one thing running around cones on your own in the corner of a field at 8:30 at night, and completely different thing training with your teammates in an intense first team training session every single day. So it's going to be really, really difficult for those two players to find moves in January. And I've got to agree with Stevie. I find Maresca's comments completely disrespectful, because he's almost saying that, you know, these two players, they're footballers, they earn a lot of money, they don't really know what hard work is. Well, you know, they're still missing out on quite a large portion of their careers. Neither of them grew up dreaming of training on their own in a corner of a field when they could be playing matches. And for Raheem Sterling in particular is reaching an age where, you know, he may never get another move again. It wasn't his fault that Chelsea offered him a long deal that they didn't want to honour. And I feel so sorry for both of those players, because, you know, their careers are stalling, and you know, it could be that they never get a proper move again, and you could be looking at the kind of the end of their careers. I think Maresca's comments are completely wrong, and I think the way they're being treated is wrong as well. I'm completely with the guys in the studio. I think it's outrageous, to be honest.
Yeah, difficult situation for both players. Hopefully they do find a solution soon enough. Frank, let's get to some predictions now. This is what we all say. I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Rob's going for a 1-1 draw. And Shaka, I thought I was really, you know, going for it for that one. But Frank has gone with a Chelsea win, as well as Stevie. Frank, let me start with you. You're definitely backing your Blues.
Yes, I have to. I mean, according to what I saw and what we can see week in, week out, I'm sorry, we're gonna hate, and we're gonna nicely hate each other, Alexi, for the weekend. But your almighty Manchester United is not showing anything that I can think that it can win a game, even at Old Trafford against the Blues. Yeah, it's possible, but I see more possibilities for the Blues to win that game and get the 3 points, because it's what it should be, even if we know that Manchester United is capable of doing anything. But right now, I don't see that. I don't see that coming. I don't see anything in the chemistry whatsoever who can say, ooh, maybe they can get something out of the Blues.
All right, Stevie, are you ready? Because Liverpool have been the late show so far this season. 6 of their 12 goals so far coming after the 80th minute mark. So, Stevie, is that winner's mentality or cause for concern? How have you been feeling about your boys as they head into what, as you wanted to say, is the big game this weekend, the Merseyside derby?
I think it's a cause for concern because you cannot rely on scoring late goals to get you out the mess that you've put yourself in. You know, to be 2-0 up against Atletico Madrid, you should have buried them. It should have been 3 or 4, and you don't, and then you let them back in. And then we started the season talking about how defensively they were leaking goals. So, yeah, I think you can only turn around and say, well, that's what champions do. You know, they win late. But when you're doing it 5 games in a row and you've got to leave it that late, that means there's a problem before you get to that particular stage. It's great that you've got the ability that you can do it, but you can't keep relying on it. And eventually that'll run out. So, yeah, he's got a bit of work to do, but listen, it seems strange to be complaining that you're winning every time you step on the field. But the truth is, you can't keep doing that.
I agree. Listen, there's no question to Stevie's phrasing, Arne Slot's got work to do to get this right. But it's great when that work comes when you've won, 4 games, well, certainly in the league, 4 games on the spin. Without playing well, we admit, and relying on late goals, but it's a lot easier to tinker, to convince players to do different things, to experiment. When you're 100% as Liverpool are, as opposed to if you've won 1 out of that 4 or whatever it may be. So I'm with Stevie on that. It's cause for concern, but if you're on a slot, it's a great place to be in terms of fixing those issues.
Well, Anfield has definitely been a fortress for Liverpool for the Merseyside derbies. If you just have a look at the last 5 results at Anfield, you see that Liverpool absolutely have owned Everton at home. Just the 1 win for the Toffees, and that came back in 2021. So let's get some predictions, shall we? Frank, oh my days. Frank has gone for a 2-2 draw, and the rest of us have gone for a 2-1 win for Liverpool. Frank, explain yourself.
Well, to defend myself, I thought it would be too easy to say that Liverpool can win. And according to what my 2 colleagues have just said, that's not that easy. And it's not like Liverpool is dominating the opponent and dominating the game and having chances to score. And there is no doubt that they are suffering, but they're going to score like at the Fergie times, at the time, when you know that at a certain time they're gonna score a goal. It's not like that. Yes, they score a goal, but they're lucky for me at the moment. They're not dominating their opponents. And Everton, you have to be fair. They're doing good. They're doing good this season. They trouble people. They got, I think, 6 points or 8 points. I don't remember. So they got some points. They're not struggling. It's not the Everton that we have seen lately, who's going to struggle all season long. I think that's a good Everton. And if Liverpool think that's going to be enough, and maybe they can score a goal in the last 10 minutes of the game, they can be surprised. And it's a Merseyside derby on top of it. You never know what can happen. You can have something different because it's a derby. So it's why I put a 2-2, because I think it's feasible for me. And I'm pretty sure that the Toffees can create problems to Liverpool.
Yeah, no matter how many struggles Everton have, they always seem to rise to a different level in this fixture, Stevie. Does that make you a bit nervous for this one?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. All those victories you showed there, 2-0 is the biggest victory over the last 2001 to 2005. And I don't remember any of those victories being comfortable or easy. In terms of on paper, those results that we've shown, Liverpool were, on paper, miles ahead of what Everton were doing. On paper, yes, you could say they're miles ahead, but on the field, Everton's got 2 wins, 2 draws. They're really solid. They're organised. This is a better Everton side than they've had in probably at least the last 5 or 6 years. And so, yeah, I'm a little nervous. I do think Liverpool will win, but yeah, you should never underestimate an Everton side in a Merseyside derby.